finds himself. And Russell is, he's been around for many years. I read his bio, which I don't have right here now. But Russell, he hosts retreats. He's written a couple of books. The one was Finding the Guru Within You, I think.
Awaken the Guru.
Awaken the Guru in You. And I've seen some very good feedback from Russell's retreats by people who have been there. And Russell has been on a lifelong journey with reading, metaphysical philosophy books, all that kind of thing. So he came to an understanding himself, which I'm going to let him talk to us about. And just an interesting information of fact, in South Africa, Waldo is Wally, when Wally finds himself. And I have a book from South Africa called, Wally. And my grandkids always say Waldo, and I say, no, it's Wally. So welcome up, Russell. I will stop sharing. And
recording, Cheryl.
yeah, thank you. So we do record the talk and the meditation, and we put that back up on our YouTube so that anybody can come and listen to it at any time. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you use this Holy Spirit there. Can I take it? That can work?
Okay, so I don't know why. Let me pin you. I'm going to do that again. Come on, Tracy. How do I pin? Okay, here, I think here. Here we go. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we have the light here.
Oh, the light, yes.
I wonder if we can run those lines.
I can make a glass with that roll.
Want the lights on?
We can put the lights on, but even with the lights on last week, it didn't. So, it is what it's.
Okay.
That's better. It's better the way it is. It's better with the lights on, Cheryl.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, you're perfect, just like that. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I have to say I have a lot of compassion for people that are dealing with these technologies. I do Zoom talks and seminars, and there's always some glitch that just, you come up and you feel really centered, you feel like you're in your spiritual space, and all of a sudden there's a glitch, and you just go right off into some kind of anxiety. So I really have a lot of compassion for this. Yeah, I want to thank you all for showing up, for people that are here and by Zoom. Woody Allen once said, if you want to become successful in life, just show up. And, he's a funny guy that obviously has a bit of humor to it, but I think there's underneath there's a depth to that, right?
Excuse me, I don't see the recording.
Okay.
Sorry.
And I think there's a deeper meaning to that, is to show up as who you really are, you know. I think that's really important in life. We want to be who we are. It's such a challenge in life to do that. And showing up as who we really are in some way could be described as awakening, you know, to find out yourself, show up as who you are. You need to awaken to who you are. Might be called illumination in some traditions. Some traditions, they call it self-realization. I call it direct experience. So it's just a sudden experience you have. Abraham Maslow calls it the unit of experience. And I was blessed when I was in my teens to have just a taste of that. And I grew up in Thunder Bay. I don't know if anybody has been to Thunder Bay, but out in the bay is this landform called the Sleeping Giant. And the native community calls it Manabishu, which means the Great Spirit. And I used to go out in the bush, we call it the bush up there, it's not the forest. Out the bush, and I go on top of this cliff, and I would just look out on the bay at that. And I remember one time there was clear blue sky. And by the way, thank you for the sky and the weather today. Thank you so much, weather gods or goddesses, for that. And I remember looking down at a rock and going, well, that's very odd. That rock feels like it, the way it feels like in me. That's very odd. And then I looked at a tree, spruce tree, and I thought, that's very odd. That tree, you know, normally you just see it as an object, but somehow it felt like the essence of that tree was the same as in me. And I looked out at the bay, and all of a sudden my consciousness just kind of expanded outside my body. Normally our consciousness is in our body. It's just like, and all of a sudden it was like, for a few seconds or it was like, it was all me. It was all me. Not only was it all me, all of it was me. So there was me, and then there was all of it. And it was just like, maybe lasted for about 10 seconds. But I never didn't want to go home and tell my mom, you know, Mom, I'm God. She wouldn't know what to say. But that sparked for me my own spiritual path, and for ever since then, I've had this interest in awakening or spirituality, finding out who I am, and so this led me to explore this phenomena, and eventually I started, you know, I came across a particular method of awakening, which I describe in my book, and then I started running workshops. I've given probably about 80 to 100 retreats on this subject over the last 40 years. So, you know, I'm well seasoned, so to speak. But sometimes I see a metaphor or a similarity in life about this spiritual path. And in a way, Waldo, like looking for Waldo, finding Waldo, where's Waldo, is kind of a humorous metaphor for the spiritual path. You know, we're all looking for Waldo, but Waldo might be a metaphor for ourselves, you know. And when I was a young father, my daughter and I, we used to, before bed, read. I've had this book called Where's Waldo? It was a big book, and it was just tons of people in every page, and Waldo was in there somewhere, and we all have a great time looking for Waldo. And eventually you find there'd be this here's Waldo. And at one point my daughter says, you know, we're looking for Waldo, but Waldo must be very lonely. I said, well, what do you think? Why do you think that? He says, well, everybody's looking for him, and maybe he doesn't know where he is, and so he must be pretty lonely. He doesn't know where he is. And then she said, well, I wonder about all those other people there. Maybe they don't know where they are. Who's looking for them? You know, and I thought, you know, my daughter, Waldo is that true self that we're looking for. So, and we may be lost, I'm not saying we all are, but some of us feel like we're lost in life. There's so much going on right now in life, like just the smoke, the wars that are going on. We've been through COVID, we've been through lockdowns, people's lost their jobs, families have been thrown apart. There's Mr. Trump in the States, there's all this concern that we have about what's going on in the world. And, we can lose ourselves in all of that, There's a spiritual teacher that I like, he's a Canadian spiritual teacher named Stephen Jenkinson. He says, it's in the nature of being human to forget how to be one on occasion. But what happens when we forget for a long, long time? What happens when we're so focused on the outside and we lose ourselves? Well, imagine a person on their deathbed, and they look back on their life and they go, oh God, who was that was living my life? There's somebody else that was living my life. It didn't feel like me. That's such a tragedy. And there's a Zen master that I've read about. His name's Dojin. He said, to have lived life and not to have realized your true nature is to have lived in vain. I mean, that's a pretty heavy duty statement. There's a woman named Margaret Young. She's a psychologist. She says, often people attempt to live their lives backwards. They try to make more things, more money, in order to do more of what they want, so they will be happier. The way it actually works is in reverse. You must first be who you truly are, then do what you need to do in order to know and have what you really want. So it's like we want our lives to not be the reflection of what the consumer society wants us to be. We want our lives to reflect us, who we really are. And every one of us is unique. Finding that uniqueness is part of the spiritual path. And so having our relationships reflect who we are, our jobs reflect who we are, our hobbies, our spiritual community, this spiritual community reflects who you are. So that's where we need to go there first. So I'm going to investigate this search for the true self and maybe get a sense of where the true self might be, just like where's Waldo. So hopefully I can get you in the vicinity. And so the first thing is, to ask, when we talk about the true self, what is truth? That's a big question. And, you can get into a lot of trouble telling other people what the truth is. You could. And it's going on in the world. Everybody's, is so forcefully telling everybody else what the truth is. So I'm going to enter that morass right now and try to give an idea of what a good definition of truth. So I'm not here to tell you what the truth is. I'm going to just give you the definition of the truth. So over time, I've developed this definition. You can take this on if you want. So truth is the way things consistently actually are. Truth is the way things consistently actually are, not the way we think things are. Okay, now, oftentimes we get into a lot of trouble because we think things are different than the way they actually are. Truth is something, so the first thing, truth is something that's constant, it's consistent. So like the speed of light, that's a constant. Scientists know this, the speed of light, it's a constant. Another constant is, when the sperm enters the egg, there could be life starts there, that's a constant. And when somebody says, have true aim, an archer, the aim is true, the arrow's going to go to the target. Or when somebody says, I have true love for you, that's something that you want to depend on. It's constantly that way. So one of the characteristics of truth is that it's constant. It's invariable. The other aspect of truth is that it's the actuality of things. The actuality. It's not what we think. And this is where we get into trouble a lot. So like we have a wall here, that the wall is actually there. It's not a figment of my imagination. But we may have some thoughts about the wall, so it's a holy wall. I can hear the children singing and laughing coming from the wall. If I was an architect or an engineer, I might have thoughts about, that's a very good structural wall. But it's just a wall. That it's just what it is. It's actually a wall. So the truth is the actuality of things, whether we know it or not. The truth is the way things actually consistently are. So I want to kind of go in that direction with all of this. So when we talk about the self, developmental psychology says that who we are is a combination of our genetics and our heredity and our socialization and the experiences we have in life and the decisions we've made. That's our personality. That's who we are. But is that something that's constant? Is our personality constant? I have a friend of mine who was a fundamentalist Christian in his 20s, and now in his 70s, he's an atheist. Well, that's totally changed. His personality has totally changed. When I was young, in my 20s, I was very shy, introverted. For me to visualize myself up here giving a talk would be terrifying. But I've changed. I lead workshops. I help people through difficulties in their life. I've changed. My personality has changed. So my personality is not who I am. There's something deeper underneath that. So just for example, so I want to throw out some ideas. Like I say that the way that truth is the way things actually and consistently are, and then there's the way we think things are. But I want to throw out an idea here about what truth of ourselves might possibly be. So this is something, an experience that Alfred Lord Tennyson had. He's in England. He was I think he was what do they call it? The poet of what do you call it?
Laureate.
Poet laureate in England in the 1800s, I think. And here's his experience of himself. He said, all at once, as if it were out of the intensity of consciousness of individuality, the individuality seemed to dissolve and fade away into boundless being. And this is not a confused state, but the clearest of the clearest, the surest of the surest, utterly beyond words, where death was almost a laughable impossibility, the loss of personality, but the only true life. So this is his experience, you might say, of enlightenment or self-realization or direct experience.
Could you read that again?
Yes. And all at once, as if it were, out of the intensity of the consciousness of individuality, the individuality seemed to dissolve and fade away into boundless being. And this is not a confused state, but the clearest of the clearest, the surest of the surest, utterly beyond words, where death was an almost laughable impossibility, the loss of personality, but the only true life. So that was his experience of self-realization. We could take that on as an idea. We could take that, that's the truth. But in reality, that's just an idea. It's just a concept. So one of the barriers to this showing up, finding ourselves, is knowing that just because we understand something doesn't mean we know it. Doesn't mean we know it. So we could say that self-conscious, self-realization is individuality dissolving and fading away into boundless being. Ah, yes. Now I understand. So now I'm enlightened. No, it just means I have a good idea about it. So this is one of the difficulties. I'm sure you've met people who are really in their head. They think they know, but they just have intellectual understanding. So, imagine a person going into a restaurant and ordering a meal, and the waiter gives him the menu and comes back, and the menu's gone, and the waiter says, "What would you like to eat?" And he said, "Oh," the customer says, "Well, I've eaten the menu. I like everything on the menu. Now I'd like to have dessert menu." You know, so like eating the menu is not the food, or looking at the food, understanding it is not the food. So I could describe to you what we have in my community garden, a tree called pawpaw. Pawpaw is a fruit. If you've never had a fruit before, pawpaw, I could describe it to you, but the description isn't it. You have to eat it to know what it is. So we need to go. The description first of all, is not the real thing. We need to go beyond the way we think things are to the actuality. And there are many books out there that we can read, about that. How about our thoughts create reality? But in the realm of awakening, in this realm of awakening, we don't want our thoughts. We want to go for the real thing. We want to go beyond our thoughts to the true reality. So for many years, I got stuck in concepts. I read so many self-help books, and they was piled up beside my bed, half read. I'd hear about another one, and I'd read that one. You have piles of them, right? And I read so many self-help books, I felt self-helpless. Right? And eventually I decided I'm going to find the truth for myself. So also beliefs are in the realm of concepts. So, I can believe that Waldo is somewhere in the picture, but the moment I experience where he is in the picture, I no longer have to believe he's here. I no longer have to believe. Okay? I know he's there. It's just like I come here, I got all the directions, I had this visualization of the church, I had this belief that the group was going to be here, okay, and now I'm here. Now this is actuality. You're actually here. There's all these wonderful spiritual speakers here. Now, next time I come here, I don't have to sit here and believe. I believe I'm here. I believe I really can know. I know I'm here. So there's something about experience and knowing. So Carl Jung, for instance, he was once asked. He wasn't asked. He was asked, "Do you believe in God?" And Carl Jung's response was, "No, I don't believe in God. I know God. I know God because he's experienced God." So true knowing comes from experience, the experience of something. So I want to go into the realm of experience here. So we know that our true self in the realm is something that we need to experience. It's not in the mind, it's not in concepts, it's not in belief. And what I want to do is an experiential exercise here. So this is part of the guided meditation, you may say. So we want to find out where Waldo is. So I want to kind of give a vicinity where you might be existing. Okay. So this is an exercise, very simple exercise. You do this with your eyes closed, your eyes open. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to experience your body, and then your mind, and then a feeling, and then emotion. And then I'm going to get you to notice the one who is noticing those. Okay? Now, it is not hypnosis or anything. It's very simple. You can do this if you want with your eyes open, or you can do it with your eyes closed. It's a very simple exercise. And I'm going to do this a few times just to see if we can get it deeper, okay? So the first thing I'd like you to do, you want you to close your eyes or keep them open. I want you to notice your body. So tense your foot. Just tense your foot. So notice this is your body. It's pretty obvious. That's your body. Okay, so we'll let that go. Now I'd like you to imagine someone you like singing a song. So maybe you could picture that, maybe you could hear it, I don't know. Imagine someone you like, maybe a singer you like, singing a song that you like. Okay. So this is your mind doing that. It's pretty obvious. This is your mind. Okay. Now, just let that go. Now, just for a moment, just have the belief that you are on the right path in your life. Even though maybe you don't know that, but just have the belief you are on the right path. Just take on that belief. You're on the right path. Trust it. Okay. So notice this is your mind doing that. This is your mind. Okay. So there's your body, your mind, your emotions. Now notice the one who noticed the body, the mind, and the emotion. Just notice that one. If you don't have to know who that is. You just notice it. There was someone there. Notice. Okay. This is you. Okay. If it was somebody else doing that, you're in trouble. But this is you. Okay. So let that go. Now, I'd like you to put your hand on your heart. Or actually, I'd like you to breathe in deeply and hold your breath. Okay, you can let it out. Okay, now this is your body. That's pretty obvious. That's your body. Now, I'd like you to feel a yearning for something you really want. Is there something you want that maybe you don't have? It could be immaterial, it could be material. Just feel a yearning for that. And just turn up the volume a little bit on that yearning. This is your emotion. Okay? Now, just for a moment, put a smile on your face. Oh, sorry, that was your mind doing that. Had that yearning. Okay. No, sorry, that's your emotion. Now, picture a piece of cake in your mind. Okay. This is your mind. Notice that's your mind doing that. Okay. Now, notice the one who noticed the body, the mind, and your feelings. That's you. That's you. You may not know who you are, but you can locate yourself somewhere. Just like we located Waldo somewhere. That's you. Okay, so you can open your eyes. And I'm just gonna have you notice. So be with that self just for a minute. So notice another aspect of yourself. You're conscious. Right? You wouldn't be able to do that if you weren't conscious. And notice that you may not be your body, your mind, or your emotions, but you are associated with them. Okay? You may be separate from them, who you really are. Okay? So maybe we're non-physical, conscious individuals who happen to have a mind, body, and emotion. Maybe we just are. Okay? Eckhart Tolle says, what a liberation to realize that the voice in my head is not who I am. Who am I then? The one who sees that. So there's an observer there. You know, we're getting close to ourselves when we recognize there's an observer. Okay? There's an observer observing the aspect of ourselves. So there's something else I just want to direct you to now. There's another question is, that's really important to contemplate. Does this self exist? This is really important. Do you exist? Okay. Now, here's a good question to think about. Is if you did not exist, would you be able to know whether you existed or not? Okay. It's only because you exist that you can be conscious of your existence. Okay. So even if you try to prove you existed, and by the very act of trying to prove you existed, you've proven you existed. So this is what's called a self-evident truth. You don't have to prove that. It's just, I know. And this is close to this experience of awakening. Awakening happens like that. It's not something you figure out. It's something all of a sudden it happens. So there's this feeling of existence. So you could say to yourself, I am. I am. I exist. You know, in the Bible, when Moses asks God, what is his or her name? God says, I am that I am. Now, there are many ways of interpreting this, but one way of interpreting it is to say, I am my existence. There's lots of ways of interpreting it. So this is a fundamental truth, you know, that I exist, I am, that we miss. And the result of this, it causes us a lot of suffering. We miss that we're real. And in this life right now, the way it is, we're so concentrated on all the outward things, managing our life, you know, the fear, the anxiety that's happening. Our lives are so focused on our outside world. You know, there's a saying that if we don't go within, we go without. We don't go within, we go without ourselves. So we miss ourselves. We miss the reality of ourselves. So life in some way becomes like, oh God, is this real? Is this an illusion? And then maybe we need like someone else to verify our existence, like Waldo, you know. Oh, Waldo, we found Waldo, now Waldo knows he existed. So this is important because if we want to use our thoughts to create our reality, first of all, we need to establish something that's real. Like, we need to come from something that's real in order to create something that's real. You know, if we believe we're a figment of somebody's imagination, it's very hard to create what we want in our life. So the center, you know, the blessing in this world right now, because there's so much going on in the outer world, and we feel so insecure with what's going on in the outer world, we have to find our security somewhere. So where do we find it? Right here. So that's the blessing. That's what this world is now doing for us, to find out this center. And so the first place to go is I am. I am real. I exist. So just for a few moments, I'd like you to just be with yourself. As you breathe in, just say I, and as you breathe out, am. Just for a few months. I am. I am. How does that feel? To know that you're real. In spite of all the craziness that's going on outside in life, that the center of your life is you. That you are real. You exist. There's a reality to you, a solid reality that's undeniable. That's an essential truth that you don't have to prove to anybody. Okay? So, welcome home. Welcome home. So, I'll be sticking around, and if you want to talk to me, I have a book here called Awaken, the Guru and You. Do you have a library that I could donate my book to your
That would
library?
be wonderful.
Yeah, I'll donate my book to the
Thank you.
library. And if you want to go on my website, it's Awaken the Guru in You. You can also get the book, Awaken the Guru in You. You can get the book on Amazon or Barnes and Noble if you don't like Amazon. And on my website, there's a free book called Living from the Inside Out. So thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been valuable. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Russell. That was great. And this is the book, Awakening the Guru in You. And thank you for the donation to our library. And in that book actually is what do you call those things? The QR code. What QR code? QR. Oh, thank you. QR code. To download Living from the Inside Out, 9 Keys to Awakened Living. And as Russell said, you can go to his website, awakentheguruinyou.com.